Hello and welcome to Transform Tuesday. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I'm pleased to be joined by Sarah Mitchell, our Director of Customer Success. Today on Transform Tuesday, we are going to be talking about queuing and queues. So queues are kind of a cool feature if you are in a position where you have multiple people who are out in the field who can interchange the type of work that they do. So for example, if you've got, say, 3 inspectors out in a field and each of them are qualified to take on a particular task, you can use a queue and use that as a proxy for assigning it to a particular person. Let me explain that in further detail. In a normal sort of dispatch scenario, or the ones that I've sort of shown in previous Transform Tuesdays, typically a dispatcher creates a ticket, and then that ticket is assigned to a particular worker. The worker then opens up Transform or the Transform mobile app on their phone and downloads that form, but only sees forms that are assigned to them. And as a dispatcher, you can only assign, if you're assigning to a person, you can only assign it to one particular person. Well, now imagine that the dispatcher is sending out a whole bunch of these forms all day. Maybe worker one has got 5 of them, worker two's got 5, worker three has got 5. But let's say that these forms take different amounts of time to complete. So worker one has gone right through his or her forms right away, but worker two is still struggling, say, on form 2. It would be great if worker one could help out worker two by picking up the extra tickets. Now, you could do this, or the dispatcher could do this by sort of paying attention to where everyone is in the field, going into the management console, finding a particular form, and changing it from worker two to worker one. And then worker one could simply open up their phone and download the new form. But there is an easier and better way to do that in Transform, and that is using queues. So with a queue situation, the dispatcher doesn't assign a form to a particular person. Instead, it assigns it to a queue. And you can have multiple different queues. So let's say we had one called the inspection queue. The dispatcher could push in multiple records into the or forms into the dispatch queue. Then each of the workers, they could sign up, take a look at the queue, and pull out a form, work on that form and submit it, and then come back and get another form until they've worked through all of the forms in the queue. So I hope that sounds pretty cool. Let me show you how you do it. Okay, so there are really 3 steps for using queues. The first step is to define the queue. You do that using JSON in the on-device asset section of the Home tab. It's a little bit tricky because it's JSON, but I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And if you're watching this video, or even if you're watching this live, and you do get stuck or something like that, this is absolutely something we're happy to help you with. You could send an email to tfservice@alphasoftware.com, although maybe you'll get it right the first time. The second 2 steps are actually much easier. It's simply to assign a form in the queue. You do that in the Management Console tab. I believe you can also do that with the API as well if you're building a more advanced integrated system. And then the last step is in the mobile app to open up the Claim Forms option in the menu to select your form. So let's take a look at this in action, starting with step 1. So on step 1, where we're going to define the queue in the on-device assets section, here I am in my Transform account, and down here in the on-device assets section, which you can get to by clicking on Define on-device assets here in the left-hand corner, you'll go down and add some JSON here. You can actually add an array of queues. Now, I don't know how easy this is to read, so I blew it up here on the second part to show you what goes into the JSON for setting up a queue. To begin with, to let Alpha Transform know that you're defining a queue, queues is the first part of the name value pair here. And then list of queues is the option, or is the value that you're going to give to queues, and that's going to be an array. In this case, it's just an array of 1, but you could have multiples, like I did on the previous page. So I'm going to give my queue an ID. I could call it default or unassigned forms or something like that. And then I could decide what roles should be allowed to do these. So in this case, I've chosen supervisor and account admin. That doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. I'm guessing the people out in the fields are probably going to be users or technicians or some other role. So I could change that right here. Or if I wanted to allow every role access to this, I could simply change it to an asterisk. Think of that as a wildcard. So roles asterisk means that everyone will be able to look into that queue. The next section is template. Actually, I totally forget what template does, but I typically leave it blank. And then after that is color. And color is going to be as it appears when you open, or the color that the queue is going to appear in when you open it up on the mobile device. In this case, we've set it to 070. So this is an RGB value, so it's going to be a bit green. All right, cool. Once that is set up, then what you can do is you can go over to the management console. Just go to the next slide. And in the management console, you simply select the forms that you want to assign. I believe you could choose multiple here. In this case, I'd have just one though. And then over here in the right, in Actions, I click on the Queue button. Instead of assigning this to a particular user like it was before by user ID, I'm clicking on the Queue Radio button. And in here, you'll find a list of all of the queues. In this case, I just have one queue, and it's called Unassigned Forms. So I'm going to choose Unassigned Forms. I'm going to click Save, and then that's updated the record. But as always, there'll be a button up here, an orange button, to upload that record up to the server so that it becomes officially part of the queue so that other people can see it. So that's all it takes to add something to a queue. You just simply choose the record, choose queue, and then choose the form that it's in, save it, upload it, you're done. And you can do it to multiple. All right, so now that it's in the queue, now what? So imagine you're a worker in the field. You've opened up your Transform app. We're going to take a look here in the menu. And in the menu, you'll see the hamburger menu after you've logged into your account. One of them is called Claim Forms. So Claim Forms means that you want to claim forms or pull forms out of a queue. And that's what we'll do right here. So I'm going to switch to the next. Pretend we clicked on that, and we did. And sure enough, what happens here is you'll see Unassigned Forms. Now, when you first open up this screen, it is going to be blank, even if you have queues. But you'll see up here in the corner where it says Online. Every time you open this up, you'll see it at first say downloading, because it needs to pull from the server what the latest things are in the queue. Unlike other things, unlike most actions in Alpha Transform mobile app, this you need to have a cell phone connection. This does not work, or a Wi-Fi connection. This does not work offline. So this lets you know that it's online. It lets you know that it's been pulled, so that you know that that you're able to pull those forms down from the server. Now here I just have one queue, and it's green. I showed you how to set the color just a second ago, but you could have multiples here. And so to choose a form from a queue, or to check to see if there's anything in it, you simply tap on it. And when you tap on it, it will give you a list of all the forms in that queue. In this case, I just have the one that I set up before. So if I want to tap, I can choose multiple forms. If there were multiple, if there's just one, I'm just going to tap on the one. So I tap on the one. And what will happen is it'll say, okay, I know that you want to claim this form, but you haven't claimed it yet. You've just indicated that this is one that you want. So to actually submit the claim and say, yes, this is the form that I want, please pull it out of the queue, you're going to click tap here to submit claims. So we'll tap there. And what you'll get is something that will say, provided everything went well, granted. Now, maybe you took a long time before you hit that button, and one of your colleagues in the field was quicker than you. In that case, it would have already been pulled out of the queue, and it would not have been granted to you. But now that you've got it, it's been assigned to you, you're now allowed to download that form onto your device. So that's actually the last thing you do is you click download granted. Now, if you forget and you hit done, it does actually prompt you and remind you to download that form. And then after that, it downloads to the server, and you're, as they say, off to the races. You could fill out the form and send it back in. So this is just a cool little feature. All I'm really going to be showing you today. It's a short one today. But you can find out more information about queuing at our documentation site, which will explain all about the documentation policies. Let me grab this out of the PowerPoint presentation so I can paste it into the chat window. copy. I'll put this in chat and paste. Oh, excellent. And Sarah is here in the back. Oh, Sarah's already posted this in the background, of course, but she also pointed out what the template was. Template is the heading template, and you can use that to override the templates that are defined on the form basis. I believe that's also here in documentation as well. So before I leave, as always, are there any questions? And if there are no questions right now, you can always send those questions to tfservice@alphasoftware.com. All right, wonderful. Well, hey, thanks everyone for showing up today. Thank you, Sarah, for being here and helping out. Looking forward to see you at our next Transform Tuesday. Until then, take care and stay well. Bye-bye.